This weekend will see the most significant armistice ceremonies for 100 years. Today, at the start of those centenary commemorations, Theresa May laid wreaths at the graves of the first and the last British soldiers to die in the First World War. And this afternoon, she visited the vast memorial to 72,000 soldiers who died at the Somme. From there, our Europe editor, James Mates, reports.
Even by the standards of the Western Front, there are few more poignant, more important memorials than that at Thiepval. Together, President Macron and Theresa May laid a single wreath made from British poppies and French bleuets, cornflowers that are their symbol of remembrance. On the walls around and above them are the names of 72,000 British and Commonwealth troops. Not all of those who died on the Somme, just those who died here and whose bodies were never found. Together they walked through the Thiepval cemetery, where unusually the French and British dead lie alongside each other. Important symbolism.
The British fought here on French soil throughout the Great War, but then of course very few of our cemeteries are actually together, whereas here we have a cemetery which is genuinely British on one side and French on the other, just as they fought.
Theresa May will be in Britain for the main commemorations of Remembrance Sunday itself, so today was her chance to pay her tribute to the fallen on the battlefields here of the Somme and also in Belgium. A few hours earlier at the cemetery Saint-Symphorien near the Belgian town of Mons, Mrs May, accompanied this time by the Belgian Prime Minister, laid a wreath on the grave of the first British soldier to die in the Great War, John Parr. And then just a few feet away at the grave of the last, George Ellison, who was killed at 9:30 a.m. on the 11th of November 1918. He was on patrol near Mons. The guns fell silent just an hour and a half later. The words on her wreath, staunch to the end. James Mates, ITV News, in the cemeteries on the Western Front.
Those who fought and died in World War I have long since gone, but their words and thoughts remain in the letters that they sent home. At times, they were loving, occasionally sad, and all too often heartbreaking. Together they form a remarkable record of a soldier's life on the front line. 100 years on, Nina Nanar reports on the legacy of letters.
Dear Father and Mother, at last I can sit down and write you a proper letter. I'm now properly clothed and in my right mind again.
They are the words his grandfather wrote from the Western Front.
I have, I think, experienced more in the past 10 days than in the whole of my life so far.
Eric Rigby-Jones was just a teenager when he signed up. From 1917 to 18, he wrote more than 200 letters to his parents.
But when my grandfather first arrived, it was free.
For his grandson John, they are the only testimony he has of Eric's wartime service.
To have them back soon. He told his parents when he left that he was going to write to them every day. Without my grandfather's letters, no one would know anything about what he did. There's no records in any regimental histories about him.
A staggering 19,000 mailbags would cross the Channel every day. A new depot was built specially in London to handle post being sent to and from the front. With men away at war, tens of thousands of women were recruited to help. The mail was transported by lorries, ferries and trains to and from the field.
So I am writing this letter and requesting that it should be posted to you in the event of my being killed on the battlefield.
Arthur Seynor's last letter home was sent after he was killed at the Somme.
He'd only gone a distance of 200 yards when he was machine gunned and was killed. Goodbye, Mother, goodbye, Father. Your loving son, Arthur. This letter was treasured very much by the family and has been kept for many, many years.
Wonderfully written bit where he says, "May history record that this was the war that ended war, and God grant that such madness be never loosed upon the world again."
The hopes of soldiers abroad as armistice came are now preserved in history.
Unfortunately, we're no longer able to talk to veterans themselves, but we still have their written testimony.
In the midst of the horrors of war, it was the written word that brought comfort, the only way soldiers could reach back home to loved ones, not just letters, but lifelines. Nina Nana, ITV News.
Events this weekend to mark the moment a century ago when the guns finally fell silent on the Western Front have already begun across the country. In Hull, Minster, thousands of poppies have been formed into the outline of soldiers from the First World War. In Edinburgh, the names of all those who died serving on behalf of Scotland are being projected onto the Scottish Parliament's building. While in Cardiff, more than 6,000 small crosses, each carrying a personal message, form a poignant field of remembrance under the shadow of the city's imposing castle. And this is the Tower of London live, where thousands of flames have been lit in memory of those who fought and died. Tonight, we leave you with the words specially written in honour of all of the fallen. We will remember them.